Five, four, three, two, one.
It's golden years time, baby. Oh, yeah. Hello and welcome back to the RPG After Years, your weekly show covering all things RPGs from the past, present and future. I'm Bill.
And I am Scott.
Yes, hello everybody, and I didn't get caught out by my drop this time. Yes, and welcome back. This is episode 079, and today we are continuing our review of the PS2 released tactical role-playing game.
Yay, it's more Disgaea.
Yes, hello, and welcome back. And guys, girls, don't worry, since it's a review, we won't be doing any catch-up. or anything like that. Today we're going to be covering the gameplay and our final ratings of the game. We're going to be, as last week, we discussed the history and the story. But before that, just so we don't fall too far behind, here are some quick show updates.
All right. So as far as the RPG Club goes, for those maybe new listeners, that is basically like a book club segment we do every other week on this show, where we, along with the rest of the community, play along the same portions of the game at around the same time. That's still going on, sort of. We finished Secret of Mana. Had you finished it last time we did this, Bill? Last time you were?
I don't think I'd finished it. I finished it like 2 days before the deadline because I was going on holiday. So yes, I went away camping for the weekend, so I knew I wasn't going to get a chance to play it. So I had to make sure I had it finished by that date. So I stayed up late, smashed it out, and yeah, absolutely. I really liked it.
You already started like another Mana game, didn't you?
Well, I had started Final Fantasy Adventure, which is the first Mana game, which was the Game Boy one that came out many years ago. Right. Same director, same composer, all that sort of stuff. Mostly the same team. And I'd already started and got away through that because of Rich. Actually, this is Rich's fault.
Oh.
He started playing it one day and just said, "We're like this is." I think this might have even been like before. Just as you guys were sort of becoming RPG After Years. And so he said, let's just do this as the game. It's really fun. And so me and Rich got about halfway through it and then he quit.
That sounds pretty familiar.
Same old story. And Disa finished it, because she was playing with us at the time.
Nice.
And so it just kind of got left by the wayside. So I was like, okay, I'm familiar with this game. I really enjoyed Secret of Mana. I kind of want to review this at the same time so that we don't have to go backwards and then forwards. So yeah, I've just started playing it again, and lo and behold, also Frost is playing it. So it's been nice to have someone to talk to about it on the Discord.
I know Rich just started Xenoblade Chronicles recently, and I'm like, okay, you know how long that game is, right, dude? So
I know. It's just like I want to take bets on how many hours in he gets till he quits.
But I hope he sticks with it.
Yeah, so do I. I really want to play number 2 of that as well, Xenoblade Chronicles.
Me too. It's hard to find now. I guess you can get it digitally, but So you liked Secret of Mana though a lot, right?
I did. I liked it a lot. I'm with you guys. I can see its flaws. The menu system looks like it was literally dragged out of Satan's mouth.
Yeah.
But other than that, it has so much charm to it. And I'd really like to play the third one, Sensex and Dinkum, whatever it's free. Because that's supposed to be the best of the Mana games.
Trials of Mana, right?
It's called Trials of Mana is what the remake's called. And on the collection version, we've got like an actual official Square translation of the SNES version.
Right.
Because there's actually a proper remake, like 3D thing of Trials of Mana 2, which I've heard amazing things about as well. So I really kind of want to play one of those.
But I'm not jonesing at all to play another one anytime soon. So
yeah. No, just my OCD's kicking in with the first game because I was like, I can't have played the second one without doing the first one.
Right. So I imagine are you gonna like submit your review scores and all that for us to have on the show?
It's a Golden Years game. You cannot have my review. You cannot review it without my scores.
Is that how it works?
That's how it works. If anything comes into the club that's on the list, you're getting some scores from me, my friend.
All right. So anyway, we don't have an RPG Club game right now. Rich and I are going to start the review next week, I think, or maybe 2 weeks. But nominations are actually beginning this Sunday. So if you are a patron, you can actually participate in what game we end up nominating and voting for on the next RPG Club. And that is going to begin Sunday, which is 2 days from this recording. So that would make it September 12th. So keep an eye out for that. And if you want to help participate, it's kind of your last chance to join in on the Patreon. Even if you missed the nominations, though, you can still join in for the voting if you join the Patreon. So.
Yeah, and even if you're not a patron, you can still join in with playing whatever game gets picked. But yet you need to be a $5 patron to get your nominations in and to get your votes in. So, you've probably got a couple of days if you're listening to this on the Thursday it comes out.
Right.
to get in there and get your vote in. So yeah, come join us. But our Patreon community is fantastic as well. So, I'd definitely advise going. I mean, I'm a patron. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid there.
Yeah. So, and then the next thing, RPG releases, we'll blow through these really quick. The first one up, that's coming out on September 10th, is a big one that a lot of people are excited about. Tales of Arise. That's coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC. Are you excited about Arise?
I would be. It's a PS4 game, so I'm not going to get a chance to play it.
Womp womp. Maybe this will be I haven't played a Tales game, so maybe this will be where I finally join in. It looks cool to me. So
you should. It looks awesome. It's been really, really well reviewed. So yeah. I'm gutted that I can't play it on the Switch.
And it even looks like something Corey might enjoy, so it may not be that much of a stressor for me to play it. But yeah, so after that, on September 15th, we got Story of Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town coming to PC. I guess that's probably another like Harvest Moon-y Stardew Valley game. And then on the day of this episode's release, September 16th, Game Deck coming to PC and Eastward coming to Switch and PC. I've never heard of either of those.
Nope.
So then on this upcoming week, on September 17th, we got a few games. Nexomon is coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and Switch. That I think Rich was kind of interested in that. I think it's like a Pokemon knockoff. Tales of Iron. That's Tales like a tail out of your butt, not a Tales of game. So that's coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Oh, I didn't know this was coming this soon. Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom Princess Edition is coming to Switch on the 17th as well.
Oh, yeah, because I think Wrath of the White Witch is out on the Switch, but I didn't know number 2 was out, so that's good.
Yeah.
I think number 2 is generally not as good, or considered not as good.
And then on September 23rd, we have Diablo 2 Resurrected coming out, but I don't care because that's a Blizzard game, so fuck them.
Yeah, fuck you, Blizzard. Fuck you, Diablo.
But that's it for the releases, so I guess there's nothing stopping us from jumping back into the review now.
Back to Disgaea. Back to Lahal. So I assume this is where we put in our ad break?
Oh.
Oh, no, I say next bit, don't I? Okay, all right, do me another dude. Edit point. All right, this is going to be a chunky monkey. So let's talk about the gameplay. May the Overlord save our pretty souls.
All right, we are back. Let's jump into the gameplay.
Oh my god, there's a lot going on in Disgaea. We'll just put it that way.
It
That's it.
feels like a
So
small game, but there is so much going on with the gameplay.
yeah, so let's rate it. Yeah.
Yeah, just skip all of the details.
Yeah, no, we won't do that to you guys. So, Disgaea Hour of Darkness is a traditional turn-based tactical RPG. So, the gameplay of the whole series is actually very complex, where you've got the turn-based battles, and you complete different stages with isometric grids by defeating every enemy that there is available to you.
It's a pretty
Uh,
basic like strategy RPG to begin with. It's just they throw in so many other mechanics into it that complicates things.
yeah, exactly. So this is like Final Fantasy Tactics on crack.
Yes, exactly.
You can quote me on it. Um, the player is able to deploy up to 10 characters of humanoid and monster kind onto the map at a time, allowing all 10, and then you can also allow all 10 characters to execute their actions in one go. So you have to kind of go through, select each individual character that you've taken out of your grid. So you've got like a home plate, basically. You take your character out of your home plate, you set him up, make him walk wherever you want him to walk, and then tell him what you want to do, like attack this monster A or use spell on monster B. And then yeah, you can either go through and let them do those attacks one at a time, or you can just set them all, do execute, and then just watch what happens on the screen, which is kind of the more fun way of doing it. But if you do that, you can sometimes kill an enemy that you were going to hit with another character.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you kind of end up in that almost FF1 type thing where you kind of have to really think through your actions and how it's going to affect the field to make sure that all your attacks and everything you're doing is kind of worth taking the action for. Because I did that a lot where I was just like lined up a bunch of prinnies, got them all to hit the same thing, and it died on the second one. So then the third prinny's doing nothing. And it's just like, I wasted that go.
Yeah.
um,
Did you often like try to make your whole party go at once, or would you do like a few at a time, or?
I think it depends what I was doing. Like I said, if I was trying to, because a good way of when a character kills an enemy, the character that lands the killing blow gets the EXP, all of it, unless they do like it's kind of like a multi attack. So if you've got a character standing to your left or to your right or behind you, they do what's kind of, I think it's called like a stacked attack. So you'll see their faces all flash up on the screen and then they all attack at once, but there's like a percentage chance of if the person will even attack with you or they might not.
Right.
So that was kind of my way of grinding up other characters. So I would always make sure that Etna was standing next to Lahal because Lahal's definitely going to land a killing blow. And then Etna gets an EXP share.
Yeah, sometimes it felt like that was the only way to level up your weaker units.
Yeah, otherwise you'd have to pretty much start the game from the beginning with a weak character and slowly level them up like you have done with Lahal if you're playing it for the first time. So yeah, I'll do it in sections. Like I would be, these are my attacks on this enemy, go. Okay, what have I got left to do? Okay, you can do this, you can do this. Because often as well, your character would already be standing in front of the enemy that you're trying to take out because you'd already put them there. So when the enemy's killed, I then have the option afterwards to then move Lahal up to the next enemy.
I know the game, once a character has moved and acted, it marks them on the map. But did you find yourself, before ending a turn, like going through and checking all your characters, making sure that you actually did something with them?
Yes, I did. Again, it's kind of one of the problems is that there wasn't a nice, easy way of seeing that. It was very manual. And then, yeah, if you did have a lot of characters on the field, you were stuffed. So I ended up getting to the point where I probably wouldn't use more than 6 characters for any one battle. Most of the time, it was just 2. It was just Lahal and Etna.
Yeah.
But
should
yeah,
we talk about that now, like how unbalanced the game is, or?
I think we get that towards the end.
Okay, gotcha.
Because the game is extremely unbalanced, but kind of, I don't know. I think to us it seemed unfair, but I think if you spoke to people like Colin or Generic Fighter, they'd probably say, no, it's really unbalanced the opposite way because you can overpower yourself quite easily to
it really seems
destroy
like
everything.
You're meant to have one or two really OP characters. For the first half or maybe even 2/3 of the game, I tried to play it traditionally, like having a whole team of people, but that turned out to be just unfeasible towards the end as the game really ramped up in difficulty.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. But I think that's also what a lot of people do. I mean, when because this kind of coincided with the release of Disgaea 1 Complete for us, um, it was interesting looking at the people on YouTube creating content for Disgaea 1 Complete, because they're all people who played Disgaea before.
Mm-hmm.
And so they basically ignored all the main characters, like the hull, and was just like, I'm going to create a level 1 monk. And now watch me get him to the highest possible level in the shortest amount of time. And it's just like, what?
Yeah, I had to watch
This
some of
is
those
mind
grinding
blowing.
videos like 6 times before I even started to understand them, what the hell they were talking about. Like,
Yeah,
there are a lot of
exactly.
mechanics.
So it's one of those games where if you dive into it, it's there to be broken, basically. But if you're like me and Scott, where you kind of we've got a lot of games to play, man.
Just trying to blow through it.
Yeah, I haven't got time to break this game. This game's
You
going
see
to
this
break me.
video, these videos were like, oh, 57,000 damage. I'm like, what the? I'm doing
Yeah.
57. So, period.
Yeah, and I've been on this, and I've been playing this game for 7 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But yeah, so yeah, the game is fairly balanced in a weird way, but
Yeah.
I
So
can see
speaking
what
of the
they were
10
going for.
character limit, there is like a base tile on the field, and
Mm.
that's where all your characters are deployed from. And it's kind of interesting because you can send characters back into the base and then deploy a different character if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then another mechanic I think is that you can throw enemy units into the base, and if the characters that are still in your backlog or whatever are strong enough, they will actually defeat it while in the base, and then you can recruit that monster.
Yeah, because I saw that tactic because the monsters, because you can recruit, because some like the monsters and stuff that you can create, and also you don't just fight monsters in this, you fight other enemies of other classes and stuff. So instead
Right.
of going to the hub world that you have and going to the woman and saying, I want to create a level 1 monk, you found a level 5 monk, you throw him in your base. The idea is your party who are in the base beat him up, and then he becomes one of your team.
Mm-hmm.
And the monster capturing monsters is more efficient because they already have stat boosts attached to them.
Right.
So it's better to go and capture a couple. So early on in the game, it's better to go capture a couple of monsters that will then get to a higher level quicker.
Right.
So there
I
was
did
kind of that
thought
mechanic.
later in the game when you start running into like those beastly monsters, it's like, man, I kind of want to see if I can recruit that, but I kind of had a feeling it would just trounce my base unit, so I never
It
really.
did. That's what I did. I initially tried that tactic early on, and every time it wiped out my base unit. And if it does that, your base unit's gone. You can't bring more characters out. So whoever you've already brought out onto the field is all you've got left to complete that level with. And it's just like, and then I remember, I think there was some weird dragon monster, and I was like, I'm going to try and capture this. My party's pretty strong behind me.
Oh,
I put Etna back in the base, put the hull back in the base, threw the monster in it. My base got destroyed, and I was left with like Gordon just standing on the field, just like
oof. Well, that was a
scratching
lose
his
then.
nuts. Like, yeah, it was just like, I was like, how? I put Lahal back there. Like, come on,
Yeah,
he
that
would have
really.
one shot him. He would have one shot him on the field. How's he lost? And yeah, it was just, yeah, that is again a tactic you can use, but you have to have had that. You'd have to have already leveled up quite a few characters behind you to start trying to even do that type of thing.
So another major mechanic is the lifting and throwing, and this can really be the key to whether you succeed or fail in battles. So if you have two units next to each other, human units can actually lift other units and then throw them a set amount of spaces depending on the unit. Like I think Laharl can throw 5 spaces, and I think maybe the max is 6 or something like that. But
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, it's yeah. So like I say, each character turns around, and you've got your special abilities like lift, throw, attack, and the throwing one's quite interesting because, like you say, you can throw your own characters. So I used throw a few times to get characters into inaccessible areas.
right.
So sometimes it'll be a really high platform that you can't walk up to, but you can throw someone up there. I think you can stack throws as well, but I never tried it. I'm sure I read that
Oh,
somewhere.
when you say stack throws, you mean you never had a 3 stack?
No.
Oh, I did that quite
Well, so
often.
you pick up a character, then get another character to pick up the two characters.
Yep.
No, I didn't try that.
So there's a few stages where like it really depends on how quickly you can get from point A to point B on the map. And I thought there was a couple that would be very difficult if you didn't do the 3 stack. So you must have had a hard time there.
Probably. I just didn't think about it for some reason.
And
Yeah, I
then
remember there was one where I just found it almost impossible to get up there. I can't. It was so long ago now. I can't remember what it was. But I remember just being like spending 10 minutes going around the bottom of this platform, being like,
I seem to
"How
be
do I get up here?"
remembering a particular map. I think it was like a volcano-ish looking map where they had the the crystals that create the blockades, and the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
side of your map like damages you slowly. So you really have to get to that one of those crystals to destroy it. And so I used three. I know I used a 3 stack there. Um, and then I know on the item world, which we'll cover in a little bit, there's some, depending on how it's randomly generated. There's sometimes the exit tile is on a ledge that you just can't get to without throwing. So yeah,
Yeah, I know. But then when you throw your person up there, they get left behind. Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
it's so annoying.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, the lifting and throwing is a really interesting mechanic, and Bill started to allude to this, but you can also lift and throw enemies if you want to like just kind of get them the fuck out of there. um,
But we've got a section on that later on.
yeah,
I've got lots to talk about with throwing, so that's one of my favorite topics. There's one of the things I really liked about Disgaea. But yeah,
it is. It does kind of differentiate it from other SRPGs. There's also items that you can use, standard healing stuff and all that, which I don't know about. I think maybe we mentioned this last week, but I don't think I started using items until maybe like 4/5 through the game.
yeah.
I
I
forgot
was
this
in
is something I can do.
Celestia
Yeah,
because it was that one that we talked about with the maze where you have to go on that one tile path to get out into the main area, and everything's just attacking you while you're inside this maze. And it's just like, yeah, that was the point where I remembered I could use items. I was like, oh yeah.
yeah. I know. I used a ton of items fighting the Seraph at the very end.
Yeah,
So
he was by we'll get to it later, but he was by far the only memorable boss of this game.
yeah, I agree.
Other than Vyers, but
Right. You mean mid
he's got my
boss?
respect. Yeah, he's got my respect now, so I call him Vyers. I
There
don't
you
call
go.
him mid boss anymore.
Let's see. Actions will not be performed until executing them from the menu, like we mentioned before. So you kind of you kind of control the flow of battle in that way, and you can get basically if all 10 of your characters die, then you get a game over. So they're on the field. So even if you lose all your units on the field, if you haven't deployed 10 yet, you can still bring more characters out. But once 10 are dead, that's it.
Yep. Each character may move, which occurs instantly as well, and perform an attack. So you've got your attack, specials, lift, throw, item, and you can do one per turn. Once an action has been selected, the player can then assign actions to other characters. Select execute to get all the characters to trigger their actions at once. Or if you select end turn, you select execute to do the ones that you've already set, or you can do it all and do end turn, and it will just go through all of it and then skip to the enemy's go. Yeah.
This next thing is going to be interesting for me to go through. It's the bonus gauge. So
Yeah, I didn't really understand this that well
the
when I was playing the game.
I don't. I think almost every battle I only got like the default reward from the bonus gauge, and then there might have been a few times where I got maybe the first 3 bonuses, but other than that,
Yeah,
so
same
basically
here. I
what
was
it
just
is,
every time just baffled with what is this adding up?
yeah, it's almost like a reward system for how well you did the battle, kind of. So consecutive attacks and combos will charge it apparently, and then you get more money, which is called hell in this game,
Hell.
uh, and more items as well. And sometimes the stuff that you get from these bonus rewards is like kind of OP equipment. So if you can figure out how to charge it, then it's definitely worthwhile. But as Bill was saying,
I think repeating levels helps as well.
yeah,
Because you've got to count, haven't you, on how many times you've completed a certain level.
I don't know. I never looked into it. I was just like, this seems kind of bullshit. I always, we never got to get wood stuff.
Yeah, like I've just come on this and I've just one shot the entire field with
Yeah,
Lahal on that one map, and it's like, yes, I finally did it. This is what the grinding people told me about was the mecca. This one map where all the enemies stand, and I can use that wing attack thing with Lahal and kill them all in one hit. The first time I did it, I was like, yes, and I still only got one on the bonus. I was like, what?
Yeah.
How can I do any better than that?
Didn't Disa say something about like she would often do better on the bonus gauge stuff?
I can't remember.
I seem to
And
remember she got like 5 or 8 regularly or something like that.
yeah, I
But I
think
was
so.
like,
She did.
ow,
She did good stuff in the item world though. So maybe she had bonuses attached to her items.
that could be. Um, so basically, like Bill said, you complete the stage multiple times, you get better bonuses. Uh, and there's this is also another like major unique mechanic that took me a minute to wrap my head around. I sort of started to talk about this earlier. There's like these crystals on the map called Geo Symbols, and they have a variety of different effects that they can have on the battle. I already mentioned there's some that create a blockade that prevents your characters from passing. So unless you destroy the crystal, you can't get past that blockade. There's some that create like a combo chain where everybody that's standing on a tile controlled by that crystal takes damage if you destroy it. You can also there's also like colored spaces on the map, and those are attached to the geo symbols.
Mm.
So you can also cancel the effects of the geo symbols by picking them up and throwing them onto a different colored tile.
Mm.
And it really adds an extra layer of strategy to the battles, I guess you could say. They're just, I think it's a learning curve to try to understand like how they actually work.
Yeah, definitely. There was so many of them as well. There was like ones that give you EXP boosts if you're standing on it when you kill. There were ones that made the enemy attack harder. So even if you stood on that square, like there was attack power plus. It was like times 10 on some of them. Like there was these weakling enemies that would suddenly one shot you. It was just like
Yeah.
keep away from that guy until he moves off that square. Um, but
I
yeah,
remember
then
there's
like you
one map
say,
where everybody is invincible until you destroy the geo symbol at the end of the map, which was a good
yeah,
training stage. But
and again, that was where kind of throwing became useful.
right,
Because I'd throw all of them into one enemy. Yeah, that was a weird thing as well, but we'll get to that.
right. Um, so yeah, it's really important to pay attention to the symbols, and a lot of times the certain maps felt like almost like tests to make sure that you understood how they worked, kind of. Especially once you get about halfway through the game, there felt like there were some maps where just like, here's an interesting way we can have geo symbols set up, but,
Yeah,
but yeah, that's another layer to it. Did you like them? Did you like that mechanic, or did it annoy you? Or
I did like it. It was kind of like you say, because there's only so much you can do with an isometric environment,
yeah,
with high ground, low ground, all that sort of stuff. And there's so many other tactical RPGs that use the isometric environments that it's probably all been done before. So it's just like a nice way of mixing it up, just being like, hey, yeah, we invent this geo symbols with the colors and the actual little pyramids. And then we got infinite possibilities of what we can do. Like stand on this thing and your defense goes up. Stand
right,
on this one, your defense goes down. Stand on this one, your attack power goes down or up or whatever. It's just it does add that whole extra layer of strategy. I
hmm,
thought it was a very good touch.
yeah. And this is an aside, but I think maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I really love games that are from an isometric viewpoint. So I don't know why. Maybe it's nostalgia because Super Mario RPG was my first RPG, and that game is isometric. So
And I never played that.
you should. It's on the list. Maybe one of us should haste it. Do we still do hastes?
RPG Club. Anyway, I think we do haste. Anyway, we'll sort
Yep.
it out. Yeah, so again, it does. Disgaea does a few other things as well. Like it actually adds in like we spoke about with having height advantage. Depending on where you attack your characters from above, below, left, right, wherever, can actually affect how much damage you do as well. So there are so many little nuances in this game that they added. So, attack an enemy from behind, obviously you do more damage. Attack from above, do more damage. Attack from below, do less. They really, really went balls out on that.
Right.
But yeah, there are also team attacks, which I spoke about earlier as well, which are present in all Disgaea titles. So when you perform a regular attack, if a character is standing beside you or behind you, the attacker is behind the person attacking, there is a chance that 1 to 3 characters may assist the attacker, which will strengthen the attack. And this is what I used a lot during the game to take out enemies. So the characters also then standing behind the attacker may still perform other actions after the team attack. So I could get multiple team attacks out of one set of instructions. So yeah, if I lined up 3 characters in front of an enemy, they could all attack it with a single attack, and then put 3 characters behind them. I had multiple chances of getting loads of attacks in. But then as soon as the enemy dies, you've just wasted like 5
Yeah,
turns.
and you can have up to 4 people attack. Even I think if you have somebody to the sides and behind them. Um, the only
Yeah,
thing
so
with
including the person attacking. Yeah.
right, so this might not even be true, but sometimes I thought that say I had Laharl attacking and it turned into a team attack, and Laharl's so OP, I felt like it did less damage because it added in like the stats of the other attacking character or something. Did you ever
I
think
didn't
that
see
or
that. No,
okay?
because Lahal, because they'd all attack together, but then you'd get multiple layers of HP, like things come up. So you'd get Lahal's attack, Etna attack. But I always felt like it was boosted.
Okay.
Like if I hit an enemy with Etna, she'd probably do 100 damage. But if I hit her assisting Lahal, she would do like 500 damage.
Okay. It may have just been in
I
my head
felt
though. Maybe I
I
just
thought there
wanted
was a
more
boost there.
damage.
Yeah, or you never know. It might have just been I was using a weapon that boosts teams attacks, and you might have had a weapon that might have reduced it.
That's true.
There could have been anything like that. There's so many weird things, but we'll get to that when we get to the item
There
mode
was
stuff.
more than one mechanic that I didn't even pay attention to either until close to the end of the game or at all.
So many. I felt like the item world is like one of the places where you can really abuse this game to make it easier for yourself. And I
Oh,
just
for sure.
didn't do it. I did it the one time the game forces you to do it, and I was like, I'm not coming back here.
So yeah, I spent a lot of time there. So I'll have some stuff to say when we get there.
Why? I did that one mission where it's like you have to go to the item world just so we can explain it to you, and I was just like, I have to do this for every item, and I'm gonna get bigger and better and get better items, and I've got to go back here and do this. No, all my items are staying at level 1.
Should we just talk about the item world now?
um, yeah, go on. That's your subject.
All right. So the item world is like this side mode. It's basically so you got story battles, right? And then outside of those story battles, you can go to the item world, and it's a randomly generated set of 10 floors. And so when you come here, the geo crystals can be anywhere, the enemies can be anywhere. You don't know what enemies you're going to get, but basically, the idea is there's a little dimension inside every freaking item in the game, and so you go in there, and you can either get to the 10th floor as fast as possible and win, or you can kill every enemy on each floor, and I think you get a better bonus if you do that or something. Of course, early in the game, unless you're OP, it's very difficult to do that. So at the end, your item levels up like 10 levels or something like that. And so it's a way to power up your equipment, and it really does make quite a big difference. I probably spent too much time there, and probably would have been better service by just grinding, because eventually I did just resort to Bill's strategy of powering up Laharl and Etna. But at one point I was trying to get everybody's equipment like powered up just because I was having so much trouble getting through some of the battles, some of the story battles. And then
Hey, sorry,
there's
my
also
internet timed out for 2 seconds there.
oh, no worries.
I don't know if you've noticed, but
No, I didn't.
edit.
Yeah. So, and then there's also, this may be something we talk about a little more later. Each piece of equipment has these passive stat bonuses, and I can't remember the term for it, but there's stuff like this has a statistician bonus, and this has a warrior bonus, and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are the only 2 I can remember, but there's loads of them.
Yeah, there's a whole ton. There's like instructor and like different things like that. But you can move those bonuses that level up when you complete the item world and combine them, and so you can power up those bonuses. And the best one that everybody's always after is the statistician. So because that increases the rate that you level up, which is so important because
Yeah, it increases your EXP gain.
the grind is real in this game. So
Yeah, so you want to attach loads of statisticians to your items, and then you can go into normal battles and get lots of experience boosts. So therefore, leveling yourself up quicker.
yeah.
Now,
There's a
did you
certain
get?
enemy in each item world that boost that bonus, and you have to make sure you kill it before the other monsters in that stage do.
How do they identify that enemy?
It zooms in on the enemy at the very beginning of the floor, but as the battle starts, and it says like check above their head, and then they also in battle they have like a yellow health bar instead of the red.
And so, will it say if it's a statistician or a different thing?
So if the item that you're in has more than one category, you're going to find two enemies. Well, let's say there's two categories. There's going to be two enemies somewhere in that item world.
Oh, so there's only one per level, or two, or three, depending on how many things.
Right. And so you can also click on the enemy and check their stats, and it tells you. So.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, that was kind of the bit I didn't get. I was just like, I can't wrap my head around this. And this is the tutorial, so
I was just trying to get through it because this is a very grindy game. If you want, like, it's hard to just power through, and that's one reason that I'm not a big fan of it. But we'll get to that more a little later. But yeah, that's basically for the item world.
So how? I've got lots of questions here. So did you understand the reroll feature? Where were you getting your items from? Were you buying them from the shop?
I think the best ones that I tried to get were usually ones that I happened to get through drops or from the bonus gauge or whatever. I think later in the game I started relying on the shops more, just because the more you shop, the better equipment you start getting.
But one of the things you can do with the shop is what's they call it a reroll. So when you go into the shop and you open up the menu and you go into the weapon part of it. It displays all these weapons, and there's literally hundreds of them. And there's some of them, they've all got the same name, but they're all worth different prices depending on what's attached to them and stuff. So you want to you're trying to look out for the ones that have got statistician attached to them. But you can do what's called a reroll, which is you come out of that menu. You don't have to come out of the shop. Literally the shop is just talking to someone, a menu opens up. And then you have to go into the next part. But you just come out and go back in, and it reshuffles everything that's in there. So you can keep going in and out, in and out, in and out until you get the perfect weapon or item that you're looking for with the perfect things on it.
Mm-hmm. I spent a lot of time doing that just because I wanted statistician equipment.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what they call the reroll feature. So you basically just keep going, circle, nope, not there, X, circle, nope, not there, X, circle, nope, not there.
It'd be quite annoying, but I don't know if it didn't really bother me that much, I guess.
Mm. Well, in that case, let's talk about the Dark Assembly, because that's how you get the shops upgraded as well. Okay. We're going all over the place for that document.
I almost didn't touch the Dark Assembly, and I ended up having to towards the end of the game because I wanted to transmog. So I'm glad I did end up getting to at least see how it works.
Yes. So how did you? So anyway, the Dark Assembly. Let's just describe what it is first. It's a person standing in the bottom right of your hub. Sorry, bottom left of the hub. And the Dark Assembly allows players to create new characters. You can unlock secret classes, open up secret levels, and you can do many other things at the cost of mana. But we don't know what the secret is.
I know
that's the tree. Your dad had sex with a tree. Certain acts require the player to enter a courtroom-like setting where you can bribe the senators to approve the bill that you're trying to pass. If the bill fails, the player may choose to fight the Dark Assembly and basically force them to pass the bill. And I did that a few times, and it was really good fun.
Yeah. So after you do this Dark Assembly shit, it like basically ranks up your characters. It's almost like a test, kind of. Did you have more luck with just beating them down, or did you understand the voting system better, or what?
Again, I use the reroll feature a lot, because if you re-rolled yourself into the menu, I love calling it reroll, it's just coming out and going back in the menu. Sometimes you'd have a lot more mana than other times. And so therefore you'd be, re-rolls are everywhere in this game. I didn't realize it until afterwards, but I did clock that when I was doing it. I was like, I came into the menu and I had something like 300, and I came out. I was like, oh no, hang on, I do want to go back in there. And then I had something like 600. It's like, what? So I just started going in and out, and then seeing it jump, just in and out, seeing it jump around. And it was just like, oh my God,
Well, that
I
sounds
could do
really
anything
good.
here. I mean, it does as you build up, you obviously get much higher because I think you had to get into like the 3000s to certain stuff. But I unlocked quite a few things. I unlocked the Cave of Ordeals because one of the YouTube videos I watched on grinding said, "Hey, there's a great map in Cave of Ordeals." I didn't know,
Yeah, I didn't even
but
touch that.
Cave of Ordeals destroyed me. Um, and yeah, so I did that. I used the the reincarnation feature. I think they call it transmogrification,
Transmogrification, I believe.
which is basically you reincarnate your character. So that works. If actually, that's your section on the map. If you want.
Oh, okay. So basically, if once your characters are ranked up high enough, I think it's like level rank 3 or something like that, you can reincarnate them. They start over completely from level 1, but they will level up faster and their stats are boosted up. So it's really, even though I really didn't want to, but I did transmog. I know Laharl and Etna. I'm not sure if I did anybody else. Um, but it is a neat feature, but at the same time, like it hurt my soul after all the grinding that we've done to have to go back to level 1. It was worth it in the end, but god damn. um,
Yeah, so because you could do repeated reincarnations as well. I think up to 7. I want to say.
oh, okay.
I didn't note it in the doc. I think there is a limit on how many you can actually do. But yeah, it was just a bit of madness. And like you say, it was. I think I was at level 30 with Lahal. I'm really struggling, and I'd read about this and was just like, I'm going to make a save.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give this a go. And yeah, he went back to level 1. I left Etna alone. So I then used her to help level him up. And he just shot through the levels. He was back up to level 30 within like
It does
20
go
minutes.
fast, especially
Yeah.
if you
And
know how to game the system with your
yeah,
statistician shit and all that.
which I didn't. So I
Yeah.
wasn't using statistician. But yeah, I'd done that reincarnation. I got him back up to level 30 really, really quickly. And when you go back to level 1, you keep a load of your bonus points that you can then reassign to certain stats. So everything goes down to level 1, but then you've, instead of having like 10 points they give you when you first start the game to assign, you've suddenly got 30 points. So I can put a lot more on Lahal's strength. And then I did it again. I got him up to I think level 45, and then I did in between then I did Etna. I reincarnated her, and then when he got to the 45, I reincarnated him again. And again, it didn't take him long to get back up to that kind of primo level. And then at that point, I just didn't have any problems with the game.
Yeah, and
He was like Lahal just one shot most things.
for those who are listening that maybe aren't familiar with Disgaea, if all this sounds really confusing, that's because it is.
It really is. It takes a long time to wrap your head around this shit.
Mm-hmm.
But
You kind of have you kind of have to, because the core story is not easy if you don't.
no.
Well, or maybe even impossible. So, um, I did think that the bill system was cool. Like you can talk to all the senators or whatever and see like how they're feeling beforehand. My only kind of thing that annoyed me is I felt like sometimes even when it seemed like I had the majority in favor, I would still end up having to fight them. So I was like, really?
But again, that the re-roll thing as well, you could see how many of them were liking you and not liking you. So you could re-roll that as well.
That's true. What
It's
else
like,
haven't we talked about?
um, well, just to finish off the reincarnation bit, once you can accumulate all those bonuses to your base stats, you can eventually reach an accumulated kind of stored level of 186,000
Right, and that's
if you were
one
to
thing that we haven't.
if you were to keep reincarnating. Because yeah,
Right.
you can go up to level 999 in this game.
Yeah, the cap does not stop at 99 here. You can boost your levels and stats for each character
Yeah.
to insane numbers. That kind of goes back to what I was saying, watching the YouTube videos of people doing 57,000 damage with one attack. So
So in theory, in the background, you could technically be level 186,000.
mm-hmm.
And then that would accumulate 210 bonus points. So yeah, and like I said, a lot of these people who I saw making content for this on YouTube were like, "Yeah, sod Lahal, here's my level 1 monk."
Yeah, and there's a lot of I didn't touch any of it, but there's plenty of post game and side content to fuck around with that I'm sure requires these crazy levels.
Mm.
So,
So let's talk about the class system in that case.
alrighty. So there are a bunch of classes. They're divided into humans and monsters. The main difference being that humans can lift and throw, and monsters can only equip certain types of weapons. Well, really, just one type of weapon, whereas the human units can equip any weapon. And this is kind of an aside as far as the graphics go, but I did think it was cool how most of the weapons had their own unique sprite, and all these classes had unique sprites for holding these types of weapons and attacking with them. I thought that was a nice touch. Um, so you got like mages, I think they call them skulls in this game, and then you can get wizards. There's monks and warriors and thieves and all that normal stuff you would kind of expect.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think as well, each one has like four or up to four levels as well.
yeah, so they can
So
kind of
almost like in
evolve.
yeah, almost like in Final Fantasy One, where you've got your black mage and he becomes a black wizard later on in the game. You've kind of a lot of these have four levels. So I think there's like a total of 120 different classes.
Wow, I didn't know there was that many. Uh, I didn't really do the evolution of the units at all, which I probably should have, but
I noticed them as I came back to replace people
yeah.
later on in the game. Because I like to have human characters that I could throw because monsters can't throw. Um,
But you can throw monsters.
You can throw monsters, but the monsters can't throw.
Right.
So yeah, so I'd occasionally come back and just try out a different one. I noticed there were just different classes just appearing in lines behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on when I was preparing for this review, I forgot to write it down, but I remember it being like a ridiculously large amount of different classes that you can pick from,
There were
which
lots of
includes all the
times when
different
I would
types of
see other
monsters.
classes on the field, like as enemies, and I'd be like, I didn't know that was a thing. So, um, there's also this system where when you hire these units, basically to be in your party,
Vassal.
um, they start out from you use your mana to determine how powerful that unit is going to be from the get go. So there's like different rankings. It's like incompetent, and it goes all the way up to proficient or something like that. Something like that.
That's there when you reincarnate as well, by the way.
Right. So you end up having to spend a lot of mana if you want to hire more units, and then that goes back into the grind and the re-rolling, and it's just it's a whole thing. And another interesting system with this that I ended up taking advantage of quite a bit. So when you hire these units, you have to choose a unit you already have to hire them, and then that makes that new unit that existing unit's pupil, and so they receive bonuses from like kind of working together in tandem in battle. But the cool thing is you can end up teaching abilities and spells to the existing unit from the new unit, or maybe it's the other way around. I can't remember. But like, so you can get a
Yeah.
healer learning offensive spells, for example, or a fire mage learning, ice spells, stuff like that.
Yeah, this boggled my brain. It took me ages to get used to it because I was just like, I need magic. I need healing magic. I've got nothing to heal myself with because for some reason my brain just blocked out items.
Yeah.
So same as yours had. And
Well, it
so
also works in
this,
reverse, I think, from the how you would expect to, where the new unit teaches
yeah,
the old one stuff.
yeah, because the new unit's called the pupil,
Mm-hmm.
but the new unit actually has to teach your current unit. So I was in a position where I was trying to create a mage class to heal, to then teach Flon the healing spell. And then by the time I got to the point where Flon finally learned it, I was just like, this is useless. This because she hasn't leveled up the magic. So
Well,
but so even my character, my mage, was doing like 25 HP, which was just not even worth it when with cure. And then I used it with Flon and she did like 5. And I'm like, what's
yeah.
going on?
Well,
I couldn't handle this. I was like,
I
no, I'm
ended up
giving up.
teaching Flying like all the core spells, and I ended up using her more as a black mage than a healer for usually in the game, and she did quite a bit of damage that way.
Yeah,
The only
no, I
thing
just
is,
abandoned all hope of this.
yeah, the only complication is that kind of sucks is normally as you use spells in battle, they slowly level up. So fire will eventually unlock mega fire, or the AOE range will increase, or whatever. But the thing is, you don't learn the next level of spell if it's one that you got from a pupil. So say you teach Flawn fire, that's not gonna be able to level up into mega fire. So that kind of sucked. But
Oh wow.
yeah, I think that's true anyway. I seem to remember that. But it's still worth doing it, especially if you want to have a lot of options as far as what abilities you have. Um,
I've
we
highlighted your next section.
Okay, we haven't
If you
really
scroll up.
touched on this yet, but well, we kind of have. Did you have like certain classes that you liked more than others, or did it just matter because I think we both ended up just focusing on the
Yes,
the
my
main
favorite
characters?
class was Lahal,
Yeah.
Overlord of the Underworld, because he was, he was just deaf, deaf to
I
everything
would
he
say, yeah,
touched.
it's kind of odd that they made him so OP, but at the same time, it's like, thank God.
But at the time,
um,
but at the same time, I don't. He wasn't OP, like because I think it was around chapter 6, chapter 7. I was just struggling so much. Like I had to grind a bit to get past chapter 1, and I kind of just eased my way through the game at that point. But yeah, once I got to 6, 7, it was just like I can't do anything. I can't get any further, and that's when I started doing the transmogrification stuff, and it was just like yeah. So he wasn't OP until I used one of the systems to make him OP. But yeah, but by that point it was just like, and also at some point I found this. I was reading about this. There are like random in your hub world. Let's talk about the hub world. We haven't spoken about
okay.
it. Let's talk about Disgaea. So Disgaea is kind of made unique by its focus on level grinding and stats for equipment, with its level cap at 9,999 in the current game, Sky 6. And it allows you to reach that kind of multiple times. You also have this like weird hub world, which is Lahal's castle. So this is where you wake up. This is where you go around. There's things that you can do. There's not much you can do really.
I
There's a
thought it
woman
was a
who
neat
stands.
feature until I realized how limited it really was.
Yeah, because there's a woman who stands by this like weird gate, which is how you access the actual levels that you need to go to and do stuff. There's a hospital where you can cure your characters. Again, the hospital has its own mechanic. The more you heal people, the more bonuses you get from the hospital, and then the hospital will give you really OP items.
I was about to say some of them are quite good.
There's a weird monster who gives you hints. It's just standing there. There's the entrance to the item world, and then there's like a tutorial person at the bottom, and the dark assembly person, and then there's the shop. There's like an item shop and a weapon and armor shop.
The tutorial
And
person was my least favorite character in the game because she says something along the lines of, "Don't worry, you can beat the game without understanding all the mechanics." And I was like, "This is not true."
Hey, I didn't understand the item world. It is true. or classes, or sharing magic. But yeah, it's just crazy. But yeah, that's your hub world going on there.
There's also Edna's diary room. It's like a secret room where you can learn more about her backstory.
Um, and I forgot what my point was before I started getting on there.
Well,
I thought, well, we haven't talked about hub world. No.
yeah. Let me ask you this. So you've played Final Fantasy Tactics, right?
Yeah.
Do you prefer the approach that that game has, where there are random battles, or do you like it more where you have to like sort of exploit repeating battles or going into the item world or side stuff?
That is a tough question because one of the things I hated most about Final Fantasy Tactics was the random battles. I remember thinking while playing Final Fantasy Tactics, like this sucks, like having to just randomly walk around and hope you enter a battle when you get to the next square, rather than being like, can't I just replay some of the battles I've done? Whereas Disgaea gave it to me on the plate. Here's the battles you just done. You can repeat these. It's just like, oh, this is so boring.
Yeah, I think
I was
the
wrong.
random
Sorry,
battles.
Tactics. I was wrong.
Yeah, I do think I prefer the random battles just because it does make the game feel more robust and less like busy work, I guess, to me. But I guess that could come down to personal preference.
But let's talk about my favorite subject.
Okay.
Let's talk about throwing.
All right. What have we
So
said about it already?
yeah, so we've mentioned about the fact that you can throw. You can throw your own team. You can throw enemies. You can throw them into the base panel to recruit them, or they will destroy the base panel if they're too strong. You can throw other enemies at other enemies, and they stack and grow. So, as I said with the class system, you've got different various versions of mages. You've also got various evolutions of monsters. So, if I took three, let's say, fairy monsters and threw them on top of each other, they then change into the next version, and they all get stat level ups. So essentially, you can take an entire field of an enemy and throw them on top of one another, and they will gradually almost become like a boss character of themselves. And that was one of the tactics that I used on the level we mentioned earlier, where there's all invincibility squares, because there is actually one square where you can stand and attack from. No, there's one square. No, there's one square where
they're vulnerable.
Where they're vulnerable. So the idea was that you'd stack them all up, and also when you get them stacked up, you'll get a lot more XP from the one like mega enemy compared to the 5 little enemies.
Yeah,
so
you would more experience if a lower level character defeats a higher level character as well.
Yes,
you just got to be careful, because if you stack them too much, then the character you're trying to level might be doing 0 damage. So
yeah, I remember that happened to you, didn't it? So on that particular map, I would stack 3 or 4, not do all of them, but just do like maybe 3 of them.
Right.
Get them onto the square where they would take damage, and then I would be standing on an invincibility square, which actually has them backed into a corner. They can't move past you.
Right.
To get out, so they can't get out of the way. They're stuck. You can hit them, and they can't do any damage to you. And it was just like, this is a glorious way of leveling up.
It worked quite well.
Yeah, that was the one I did. I think I've probably done that map about 30 times in the course of this game.
Probably similar for me, if not more.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't deleted it. I needed the space.
Yeah.
I could have looked.
I know that there's a couple more stages that people really recommend for grinding, and I don't think that this one's the optimal way, but for me, it was just like the most straightforward.
Also, you can throw prinnies.
See, I didn't. And I barely used prinnies beyond like the first couple stages. So tell me about it.
So when you throw a prinny, it explodes. So it's almost like it's basically like throwing a little mini nuke.
Did the game tell you that, or did you just figure that out on your own?
I did it by accident. The only time I did it was when who was Gordon's mate?
Oh,
no, the guy who turns into a prinny.
Oh God, I can't remember his name either.
I'm gonna say Zach or something.
I'll Google it while you keep going.
Yeah, but that's gonna bug me. So he's like a character. He's like a bit of an antagonist for Gordon, and then he dies, and then he comes back as a prinny and helps your team. Curtis is it, and I picked him up, and I threw him, and he hit an enemy, and he did probably about close to 10,000 damage when he exploded.
Wow!
And I was just like, whoa. Where is he? He's gone. It's like, oh yeah, I've killed him.
So it's like a self-destruct move almost.
Yeah, it's a self-destruct move. You pick him up, you throw it, and they self-destruct. Like, I hadn't leveled him up or anything. It was just like, oh, I've got an extra prinny. So I brought him onto the field, accidentally threw him at something, and he exploded. I was like,
if I'd known
whoa, I've been missing this tactic. No wonder why everyone bloody loves prinnies.
Yeah, if I'd known that, I would have been checking Curtis right into the Seraph. So.
Yeah, you should have done. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, I didn't know it was a thing until very, very late in the game. But I was just like, you can throw prinnies and they explode. That explains why people bloody love prinnies. Because yeah, that's it. That's it. I was struggling. Because one of the first things I did in the game was try and level up my little mini army of prinnies that are vassal to Etna. And it was impossible. They were just so weak. It's just like, you're not meant to. You just meant to throw
them. Yeah, I literally never used one again after the first chapter.
Yeah. Because then you also feel a bit more like Lahal, just like you don't care about leveling them up. You just launch them and throw them and let them explode.
Right. So are there any other major mechanics we haven't talked about, or should we get into like the specifics of the levels and bosses and stuff?
Well, yeah. I mean, let's talk about those things. I mean, but I don't think we really need to talk about bosses too much.
Yeah, there's like one at the end of each chapter usually. The mid boss a few times. You got to fight Hog Miser, Madaris,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Volcanus.
Uh, yeah, fiery anus. Yeah, I just don't think any of them were really worth like I don't know, but there wasn't much to do like individually with them. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, like, here's a great big ice boss, so I have to use all these fire tactics against it. It was just like, no, I just
Mm-hmm.
said to beat it to death with Lahal.
And if you're not careful and if you're not leveled up high enough, though, these bosses can really just wreck your shit. Just like take one character out after the other, if not multiple at a time. Um, so again, it comes down to, are you prepared? And
Are you prepared?
I wish I'd
No.
sort of gone through a list of all these levels and at least looked at some of the maps and get my memory jogged. But some of them are easier than others, and there's a few of them that are just whole ass pains.
Yeah. See, the ones that are memorable were the ones that I did too much because they were good grinding spots. But then by that point, I got sick of those levels because I had to grind too much on them.
I do remember one level that reminded me of I think it was like in a swamp or something, where the way the geo panels were set up made you had to get your characters, at least one or two of them, all the way through like this winding path.
I remember that one
Meanwhile, the enemy units can actually hit you from beyond the path if you're
because
not careful.
they're standing on a safe zone above, which you can't get to.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then you had to go destroy the Geo symbol, and then you could finally go on the offensive. But that level was I hated it. um,
Yeah.
I guess they don't really stand out unless they really you get stumped on them. Like you can't beat it because then you just spend too much time. Please don't make me grind anymore. And then
Yeah, I remember the level. I remember the level with where you had to fight like 100 bad guys who are all wanting to become overlord. So you give
oh
out
right,
the decree saying, look, anyone who wants to try and take it from me, come here. And then you basically there's that you're on like a crevice, aren't you? And there's like one tile to pass over to where all the enemies are. So you kind of had to stand on that tile and hit things and try to hit as much and kill as much as possible in one shot. I remember that one. That was quite fun.
there's another level. It might even be the same one, but where your vassals, your minions that you can talk to in the castle, show up to help you. And they're like just OP. Their levels are super super high compared to yours, unless you're an amazing grinder. But that was a fun one. Um, yeah, I don't know. No, I
Oh,
couldn't remember.
that was it. I just remembered why I started talking about the base, the home thing, the home hub. So I randomly spoke to this like floating spear about I think around chapter 6. He was just floating in the corner on like on the opposite corner of where Etna's diary room is. And I spoke to him, and he was just like, I'm pleased." And then he joined my items,
What?
and it was yeah, I was just like, okay. And then I just suddenly had this spear, and it was really overpowered. I think it was like King Kocheski's spear or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought you meant he joined your party.
No, I didn't join. No, it didn't join. It was just it was an item, but I gave it to Etna, and it turned her quite beastly for a long time. Um, but yeah, I remember reading like apparently there are just random. It says like make sure you talk to everything in the hub world between levels because sometimes there's something amazing that just turns up.
Yeah, I
It's
always did.
complete RNG, and it's just like I didn't. I used to skip them all, but I remember just spotting him, being like, I don't remember him. So I thought it was a story thing. I talked to him. He's like, yes, I'm pleased. And then it's just like, oh, okay, I've got this spear for Etna, and it does like 20,000 damage.
Yay.
It's like not 20,000 damage, but it was just like, oh my god, this is well overpowered.
Right.
Yeah, so I just suddenly remembered that.
Yeah. Nope. No worries. So you got some notes about extra characters here, or
Yeah, so because I don't know who these characters are, but in the subsequent versions on from the PS2 version, so Disgaea 1 complete, let's just use that as our base. There's lots of extra characters that you can recruit as you go through. Not through the main story, but you can recruit them outside of the main story, and they're all from other games made by NIS.
interesting. I
But
didn't know that.
they're all no. There's literally probably like 20 or 30 of them,
Wow.
and I don't know how you recruit them. I didn't find any of them, but they're
Oh,
all in
me
there
either.
somewhere.
So I started to allude to this earlier, but there's lots of extra content in the game. There's also a new game plus, where you carry over all your stats and stuff, of course.
And then there's a new game plus Etna mode. as well, where you can play through. So Lahal doesn't wake up and Etna accidentally kills him in his sleep, and then you play through almost, I think it's like 3 or 4 chapters as Etna instead,
Really?
becoming the
Well, I
Overlord.
knew about it, but I thought it was just like you played through the game again as Etna, like a hard
No,
mode almost.
yeah, it is like a hard mode, but I think you only do like I think it's like a smaller version of the game.
Interesting. If I wasn't so done with the game at that point, I would have been interested in at least trying
I
that
think I
out. But
did I did like the first 2 levels and was like, oh, I'm just not here.
yeah,
This is
is she
just not
still
for
as
me.
OP as she was, or do you start over from level 1 again?
It was like it was like a transmogrification thing. I
Oh,
was able to sort of give her a few extra stat boosts, but that was it.
gotcha.
Was there any moves that you particularly liked from the
Um,
characters?
I mean, I guess one thing I did like is that the spells remained useful for pretty much the entirety of the game, with the
Never
AOE
used them.
stuff. And then, of course, the named characters, especially Laharl and Etna, get these fancy special super moves that do a ton of damage. Uh, but I guess I wouldn't say there was any that I preferred. I do remember Etna had one where she launched into space and did like a satellite beam or something like that.
Yeah, that was the thing. I've one of the things I did to speed up my life was I turned off the animations. And so one of the things I've also been very surprised about when I've watched videos on grinding and stuff is how detailed the attack animations are. Because I choose everything and Lahar will just go, and then that'll
Yeah.
be it.
You can also press a
So it's
button to
like,
skip the attack animations, which was a nice feature, especially when grinding.
oh, I don't think I had that on my version.
Oh,
I
really?
think I remember
Oh,
seeing the
yeah.
first couple, and
No, we
then
didn't
I
do
remember
skippers.
seeing, on one of the grinding guides, which is like, make sure you come in here and turn this off while you're grinding,
There's also like
because
a
it will
battle
speed things
speed
up.
option in the config where like you
Mm.
can skip character movements from spot A to spot B. You can make the attacks and just speed of it like it's almost like a times 3 speed if you crank it all the way up. Um, so that's a nice little feature.
But yeah, I think winged Slayer is probably the move I used most because that was the one that had like a 3 by 3 grid directly in front of the hull. So
Okay.
that was the move I used the most. That was pretty beastly for me.
Yeah. The Harl has a lot of really good ones.
Mm. But again,
What's the
also
last thing
depending on what
about?
weapon, I was going to say just quickly because depending on which weapon you've got equipped, meant you would be able to do different attacks and different
Yeah.
special moves.
I
So
just
I
kept the
couldn't
sword on
do
the
the
Harl the
wing.
whole time.
Yeah, same here. Like I briefly put on that trident that I mentioned that I got, like King Kojeski's trident, I think it was. I briefly gave that to Lahal, thinking this is going to make him super good. But then I lost access to Wingslayer. It doesn't work with the spear. So I was like, nope, take it off.
There's
Give that
another
to Etna.
whole mechanic we didn't even talk about is that
Yeah,
each
exactly. It's so
character
difficult to
has
remember
yeah,
it.
each character has weapon mastery stats, so they can be better with different weapons and stuff.
Oh my god. When I got Gordon and I was like, oh, he's got a gun. And I used it and did like 10 damage. I was like,
Yeah,
get out of my party, Gordon. But
right.
yeah, I was just like, oh, there's guns in this game as well. And it's a different type of mechanic you've got to try and learn to go with it.
Yeah.
Hmm. Now,
Uh,
Baal is a super boss that reoccurs in Disgaea games.
I'm learning a lot today.
Um, yes, and also there's like I believe I don't know how you get to him. I think he might be either buried in the Cave of Ordeals somewhere because there's like 3 different Cave of Ordeals in this game as well. Um, there's like an alternative Netherworld you can unlock.
I mean, I knew
um,
they existed, but again, I just didn't even pay attention to them because I just
I,
wanted
ma-
to beat the
I
game.
managed to unlock a couple of them, but as soon as I went into the battles in them, I was just stuffed. I couldn't do it. But yeah, Baal is like the super boss of the game, and he wasn't in the original PS2 version. I think he might have been an item world boss somewhere, but he has been since added into the other games. So Disgaea 1 Complete, Hour of Darkness, all those sort of things. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that there is this like he's a fan favorite, Baal.
Really, that's
Actually,
interesting.
yeah,
Wasn't the main
actually,
villain of Grandia one named General Ball?
General Baal, yeah, he was.
Hmm. I wonder
But I
if there's
don't think
any
there's any
connection
connection.
there.
I wonder if that means something in Japanese.
It must be like some kind of like deity or something in some kind of culture.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't think any of us were going to have the patience to get to General Baal.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But
um,
yeah,
these
I think that's
days,
pretty much it.
I wonder, have we covered everything?
I think so. We've gone over the item world, geo panels, classes, throwing, team attacks, bonus gauges, different characters,
So what
different
do you think about
weapons,
the
re-rolling.
gameplay overall then?
Oh, it was too much. You could have split this game into 3 different games using different gameplay aspects,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd have all been fine. Knowing that that's the way to do it. Like, if there was a game where I could play and then reincarnate my characters to make them stronger, fair enough. If there's a game where I can go into an item world and get EXP boosts that way, fair enough.
Yeah.
What other ways are there of doing stuff? They're the classes. If there's a way of getting classes and doing that, like Final Fantasy Tactics, fair enough. But having it all in one game, it was for me too much. So I just had to basically just be like, okay, I cannot do all of them. I can only experience certain parts of this game, which I get is why other people love it, because then they can come back. Because I know for like yourself and DC, you use the item world to get the statistician boost, where I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, people kept telling me how to do it on the Discord. I couldn't get it. People kept telling me how to do the learning thing, the magic on the Discord as well, and just couldn't get it. It just was not happening.
I could read a few paragraphs about it, or have somebody tell me how to do it, or watch a video on it, and then my reaction to that would be like, okay, now explain it to me like I'm 5. And then after that, it'd be like, okay, now pretend I'm 3.
Yeah, like now that I've finished the game, I feel like I get it, but I just don't have any drive to go back and go through it at all. It's just not there for me. I think that also comes with the fact that there's so many, like us as podcasters of RPG computer games, we've got so much more stuff to get on with than Disgaea.
We're in the wrong genre for the amount of time that we have this in our personal lives. So.
Yeah, but the one thing I will say is that every part of it was done well. Do you know what I mean? When you speak to people like Disa and Colin and Generic Fighter, and they're talking about these things, they're just like, yeah, this is how I do it. This is what I do. And they're really into it. And it's like, this is my thing. And it's just like, yeah. So people love it, and people love the individual systems. And I will say that they're not buggy. They're done correctly. And the game is designed to be like, this is the story. You'll get through this at about level 80. Come back and do loads of other stuff later, like the Cave of Ordeals. And we will present to you a serious challenge where you will need to be, like Final Fantasy VII's weapons is the closest thing I can think of, where you can beat Sephiroth at level 40 if you plow through the game, but you're going to have to get to a much higher grinding point to beat the weapons. Yeah, that's in this game, but to a real extent.
When you beat the game in Disgaea, you're just scratching the surface, I would say. So, for me, yeah, the complicated mechanics were a big annoyance. But even bigger to me was just like the amount of grinding. It just felt like the difficulty curve was almost insurmountable for me at times. And that's partially due to the way I was trying to play the game. I should have just adopted yours and decent strategy earlier of, be the one-man killing machine, one-man army killer. But just like how much time I spent grinding, it's like there was a couple times I felt like, am I even going to be able to finish this? Because like, I don't want to do this. And so again, this may sound stupid. To me, the game felt unfair and unbalanced. And that's just how it is. But that it's hard to judge too much for that, because like you said earlier, a lot of people would say it's unbalanced in your favor. So
because it gives you the tools to do it. It's just, do you want to do it?
No.
No, I don't. No, I don't bloody want to do it. Thank you very much. Yeah. So yeah, I can see. Like you say, I can definitely see both ends of it. They didn't do anything wrong with it. It was all done very, very nicely, but I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah, I will not be playing another Disgaea unless I'm forced to for some reason. So
yeah, I feel like I'm going to be at some point. I think there might be another 2 on the list.
Oh no!
Well, and I'm going to vote for that Prinny collection for the RPG Club.
Oh, no.
I'm not.
Yeah.
So should we rate it?
Rate it? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to rate it. Yeah. High five. Yes. So let's do this, Scott. Let's go and rate it, shall we?
What are our categories today?
Our categories today, we have story, combat, non-combat, visuals, audio, overall feel, and our bonus category, which doesn't count to the overall score, the final boss.
Okie dokie.
So I hope you're good at working these out on the fly, because I'm not. So story. I think for me, the story was one of the better parts of the game up until chapter 7. I think it was when Gordon turned up, and then it took a bit of a sideswipe. I can only really give this a 7, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I loved, like I said, I loved up to the middle section, and where you get the whole thing with the Harl's mother being a Prinny. Really, really thought that was good storytelling. After that, it kind of just felt like I had to go on this weird ride with Gordon until the final chapter where it came back to Flon. It was just like,
right.
Yeah, why?
I'm floating between a 6 and a 7 myself. And on the one hand, like for me personally, I would probably give it a 6, just because there, like you said, there are enjoyable parts, but there's also a lot more that are not enjoyable for me. On the other hand, it's like, well, it's the story they were trying to tell, with this bad, weird dialogue and humor that doesn't land, 75-80% of the time with me. But yeah, it was fine. I just can't be too generous here.
Yeah, same. So combat, I feel really bad. I'm going to give it a 4.
A 4, okay. Why?
Yeah, like I said, it's not badly done. It's just not for me.
Well, you don't like
Now
strategy RPGs.
yeah, I was literally about to say that. I'm not a fan of strategy RPGs to begin with. So Disgaea has already got an uphill battle, and then there was just way too much going on for my liking. So, and yeah, because I had to repeat so many levels, like I said, apologies to my old thoughts of Final Fantasy Tactics, how it used to help you grind. But yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah. So, which category would you say my complaints about the balance should go into? That would be combat, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Okay, then I guess I am going to give it a 5 because I thought about giving it a 6, but I really, really hated the difficulty curve and having being forced to grind so much. That's not fun for me. I imagine it's not fun for a lot of people. Again, there is the battle system itself is really creative, fun, and inventive, but they ruined it for me with all the side shit it forced me to do hours and hours of grinding.
Same here. I don't mind grinding at the end of the game.
Yeah.
like if it's required to do extra side content or a super boss, that's fine. But requiring that amount of grinding mid game was just too much for me. Mm-hmm. Far too much.
And it ended up making the game kind of feel shallow too, just because of the way the levels are structured. As far as then you do battle 6-1, then 6-2, then 6-3, and it's like, but you actually can't continue because it's too hard. I don't know.
But to balance out my score for non-combat, I am going to be giving it a 9.
Ooh, okay.
I loved the Dark Assembly features. I loved I liked, I thought the hospital, although it was just a small, simple thing, I liked getting bonuses for healing my characters. I liked the hub world. I liked the way the game was designed. I liked the menu system. I thought all that stuff was really well done. And like I said, although I didn't get into the item world much, which item world was a dodgy one because I consider that combat. But it's kind of, yeah, like I said, all the mechanics in this game were really well thought out and really well done. I just didn't enjoy the combat. So I'm going to have to rate non-combat mechanics highly.
Okay.
That's it. That's the only way I can explain it.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8. Echo a lot of the things that you said. The underlying mechanics of everything, and the features and all that. It's well done. It's well thought out, well put together. There's a lot to wrap your head around, which makes it difficult. But all the underlying systems in this game are really cool, I thought, and I think it does stand out amongst strategy RPGs as far as how everything works together.
And when it comes to visuals as well, I'm going to give it an 8. I would have given it a 9, but it's just a bit too anime for me. And I like anime.
I don't really like a lot of the character designs. Again, just like the overt sexuality and felt weird in what is supposed to also feels like a kid's game a lot of the time.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
agree.
I do really enjoy the sprite work. Like I'm a sucker for pixel art, and like we were saying last week, it looks really good. And there's every character has different attack animations and different weapon animations. The actual battlefields, I guess there's nothing really to write home about there, but it looks fine enough as far as the 3D graphics or whatever. Uh, I will agree with you and give it an A, especially considering this is a PS2 game or was a PS2 game.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, the only thing that's going to get a 10 is pretty much like Metal Gear Solid, and yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3 and probably Final Fantasy 10.
Have you
Oh yeah, Android.
have you gone back and looked at any of the comparisons of like what the graphics looked like on the PS2 version? Because I was like, wow, this does look a lot better now. The improvements they made.
Oh, no, not too much. I mean, I played the PSP version, so I think it was pretty true to the PS2 version, the way it looked. But yeah, I've seen the way they polished it up on Disgaea Complete, and yeah, it looked nice. Just kind of that again modern remake feel. That's kind of what it feels. It literally feels like a modern remake feel where they just take all like the sharp edges off of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it does look good. Audio. Now, I think I'll let you go first for audio because I feel like we're going to have quite a different opinion.
Okay. Um, there are some good musical tracks. There's like one that plays a lot during like the Etna segments at the end of the chapter, and then there are some good music, but most of it's forgettable for me. As far as the voice acting goes, I thought that Laharl and Etna themselves were pretty good, but for all the other characters, it was pretty hit and miss. There were some characters that I just hated their voices and the voice acting was
Gordon.
just bad. Yeah, Gordon sucked. I
Thursday loves you, Gordon.
felt like flying was questionable a lot of the times. Uh, and then I don't know, even Jennifer and like a lot of the other characters just felt like they were reading the lines sometimes. But so I think I'm gonna give it a 6.
6. Uh, yeah, I'm going 9. Uh, Voice acting, on par with a cheesy anime. So they achieved what they were setting out for. And the music, I really enjoy the music. I've mentioned it quite a few times. It's kind of got this sort of like weird Russian vibe to it that I
Definitely
really
has its own
like and
feel,
dig. Yeah,
or
exactly.
identity, I should say.
And I feel like they achieved a really good identity with this game with the music in the same way that Final Fantasy does or Secret of Mana. Like I've been listening to the Secret Mana soundtrack loads and remixes loads because I've just got really into how they've built this lovely world around that music. And Disgaea did the same thing. Like they went for a complete different thing from what I've seen in many other games. Like I say, almost like kind of like Russian-y, sort of almost like Mongolian sort of style. And yeah, I feel like it was really, really good. I loved it. I loved the music. And I thought the voice acting again, like they set out what they achieved. Like, yeah, Flom sounds terrible, but it's because she's meant to be a really annoying, prissy angel. So she achieved it.
Yeah, and I will say, usually before I do these reviews, I try to go back and listen to the whole soundtrack of a game, and I didn't get around to that this time. So it may be that my feeling would change later, but this is the score. So
Yeah. I sometimes feel bad for voice actors because, like, let's face it, Tammer from World of Final Fantasy was like one of the most annoying voices ever, but that has got to be the greatest voice acting of all time. Whoever stood in a booth and did that for hours on end,
yeah, I don't know how they did
you, my
that.
friend, are a legend.
So that brings us to overall feel.
Oh, 4.
Is that just how you
I'm
feel about the
going.
game overall?
I'm going straight in there. Yeah, the game was all gameplay, and I gave gameplay a 4. So
Okay.
don't give me overall feel a 4. I just didn't enjoy having to grind so much in such a short period of time.
I'll be only slightly more generous and give it a 5. Just because I really didn't like the game. It's hard for me because I know that a lot of people do really love this game and this series, and so I recognize that this is not a bad game per se, but for me, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I again, I can see why people like this game as well, and I think had I been a bit younger, I would probably be more into it.
Yeah.
and like more into going back to it and grinding and trying to do all those little finicky things and trying to get to a level 100 on an item world that I really wanted and fighting Baal and all that sort of stuff. But no, I'm just not feeling it these days. So
Feel bad
final,
for Generic Fighter and all the people that do love this game, but
yeah, I know. But you know, they can love it. I can see why they love it. And again, like, I'm the worst person to review a real time strategy game anyway. So yeah, and then final boss. I have to say, actually, the Seraph fight was probably one of the more enjoyable fights in the game.
I agree
Like,
because it really came down to the wire for me, and even as OP as my characters were at that point.
yeah, it was by no means an easy fight, but I actually really enjoyed that battle. So I'd give it, I think I'd give that a 6 out of 10.
Okay. I will give it a 7, just because it was a cool fight. There was some challenge to it. It did come down to the wire. There is a little bit of a like a random factor to how that battle and most battles really play out. Because I tried to follow like a strategy that I looked up, and the Seraph did like a totally opposite thing is what he did in this other person's video or whatever. But it was a cool final boss. So, do you want to
Cool.
read off your scores?
Yep. So for story, I gave it a 7, combat a 4, non-combat a 9, visuals an 8, audio a 9, and overall feel a 4. Final boss, bonus category, gave it a 6. So overall, I gave it a 41 out of 60, which is a score of 68%. Honestly, a little bit higher than I thought.
If you had to just give it a score,
I'd
overall,
give
what
it
would you give it?
I'd give it a 57%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for me, I gave story a 6, combat a 5, non-combat an 8, visuals an 8, audio a 6, overall feel a 5, final boss a 7, which brings my subtotal to a 38 out of 60, or 63%. And so that brings the overall score for the RPG After Years for Disgaea 1 2 a 65%.
That's pretty ignorant, dude.
That is. I like the fact we're actually quite close, 68 and 63.
Yeah, well, neither one of us likes the game, so.
We can finally say it. This guy sucks. No, it's not that bad. Right, okay. And then we'll have a little section there where you can do the current placement.
Well, I can get the placement right now.
Oh no, I need to get back to work.
Oh, okay.
Right, so now listen to feedback. Listen to the silence. I think we forgot to do it, didn't we?
I didn't, so.
Yeah, I didn't. I completely forgot. So yeah, apologies for not having any listener feedback on this one. I think also where we had like a break in between the review, it was kind of just completely forgot. So yeah. So anyway, let's wrap this up, shall we?
Sure. So yeah, we conquered heaven, we conquered hell. Technically, we conquered Earth as well, sort of. So, and the review's done. Thank God. Generic Fighter, thank you for hasting that game. Sorry, it didn't get the score you were probably looking for. So
yeah, we completely understand if we now lose you as a patron. Please don't leave us. We love you. We just didn't like the game.
As far as next week, Bill will be gone. It'll be me and Rich again. It'll probably be another news episode if I had to guess, but eventually we're going to start the secret Amana review, probably the week after that. And I know in the weeks to come, Bill and I have a couple other reviews we probably need to do. But
I'm going to be trying to squeeze in a review for Final Fantasy Adventure too. I'm going to see if I can drag Frost out for that one.
We got Live Alive that we're both almost done with, and then there's also I'm about to finish FF2, so got some stuff in the pipe. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to review that. I love FF2.
So as, again, another reminder for the RPG Club. There's no game ongoing as of this recording, but nominations start Sunday, September 12th. So get in on the Patreon if you're not already, if you want to participate in the nominations on that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what wins this time. As far as our plugs, we would really appreciate it if you guys could go on whatever podcatcher app you use. If there is a review system, give us a rate and review, especially Apple Podcasts. It really helps the show grow, and we love reading those out on the show as well. Much appreciated. Then there's the Patreon, which is an even better way to support us. You can give us money, and in exchange, we give you early episode access, ad-free episodes. You can get access to the Aftercast. Rich and I just released one last week about Final Fantasy What If. So
it was great as well.
I really liked that episode. We're going to do more of those. There's also extra reviews. Corey and I are going to get back to recording some of those soon. And again, nominations and voting for the RPG Club. You get to participate in that. And there's lots more benefits. You can find all that over at patreon.com/RPGafteryears.
Ooh. And also we're streaming on Twitch. We're currently streaming now, although it's Friday. But normally we stream every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern. If it's me and Scott doing a review or something, we're going to do it on Friday at 10 o'clock.
Yep. So, yeah, just look out for that. We also have a merch store on Redbubble. Shirts, mugs, services, shower curtains. That's at redbubble.com/people/RPGafteryears/explore. I'm going to be adding a hat soon as well, now that Redbubble does that. Corey said I have to get rid of a hat if I buy another hat, though, so I'm kind of sad about that.
Oh, one in, one out? No way. I think you go with Chuck Corey out now.
There we go. I like your.
If you can drag him out, if you can get him out of the pool.
He's actually working right now. So
what?
Loser.
Get back to work. So you can also email us at rpgafteryears@gmail.com. If you are planning on giving us a 1-star review, maybe just email us first and we can talk it out. I could pay you off.
Just inquiries, suggestions for the show, just whatever.
Anything you want.
We also have a Discord, and you can find the link to that in the show notes or our pinned tweet on Twitter. We have a good time over there. What have we been talking about in there lately? I'm trying to remember.
Well, for me, Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy Legend. Most of the live stuff is happening on Twitter at the moment. So speaking of which,
lately too, I think.
Oh yeah, Tales. But yeah, in fairness, if you do want to speak to us, Discord is by far the best way.
Yep. So then there's the Twitter, another way to reach out to the show. You can find it at RPG Years, or you can find me at the Scott Spot.
And you can find me at Metallica, METUNNICA.
And that's going to be it for episode 79. You can join us next week for episode 80 as we catch up on all the news. Sony just did a showcase, so there's lots to talk about there and some really cool announcements and trailers. But until then, I'm Scott.
And I wish I was Corey sitting in the pool.
The pool boy actually just walked up. He's here.
Oh, the sexy pool boy.
And it's a different one now. But anyway,
damn it.
We will see you all next time in hell. Bye.
Bye, dude.
The beast has been slain. The world has been saved. Our heroes are basking in the after years. They rest in the tavern for all to hear. Their tale of victory and conquered fears. Revel in the peace that reigns through the land. All will know it was by our heroes' hands. Here in the after years. Here in the RPG after years. Here in the RPG after years.
I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was all right. We went all over the place.